Welcome to our webinar, Academic Student Success at Texas Tech. We are excited to have all of you joining us today. My name is Morgan Chavez Brannon with Parent and Family Relations, and joining me today are Pat Bone from the Learning Center and Dustin Florence from the Undergraduate Writing Center. This webinar is part of our Red Raider Family webinar series, where we share information on topics of interest with parents, families, and supporters of our students. We hope this webinar will help you feel better and feel more prepared for some of the excellent academic success resources that your student can access here at Texas Tech. We plan to keep the webinar to about 30 minutes or so. If there is time at the end, we will open it up for questions using the Zoom Q&A feature. In the meantime, feel free to type in your questions throughout the presentation because we will get those answered for you at the end. We are recording this session and will be posting it to our website, so you'll be able to review it again later as well as share it with others. We'll also be emailing the recording link to you after the webinar ends. So let's begin. I will turn it over to Pat.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. We appreciate as always, any opportunity that we have to speak to parents about the resources that we can provide for your students. And so if you take anything away from this webinar about the Learning Center today, just remember that we serve as an academic resource that's available to your students, not only the first semester, but throughout their entire Texas Tech career. And so for the Learning Center, our primary focus is providing students with two unique methods of peer assistance, peer tutoring and supplemental instruction. And so you may have heard a little bit about those before, but I'll tell you a little bit more in depth about what those services are and how students can use those today. Both are aimed at student success, but just delivered in two different unique ways. The first one I'm going to talk about is peer tutoring. And so you can see on the slide here, all our peer tutoring is done purely drop-in, so no appointments necessary. For us, that seems to work the best because students don't have to take an extra step and make an appointment and show up. They just show up and get the help that they need, whether that's 5 minutes or 5 hours from a tutor, or they just kind of want to spend some time here studying. And so our peer tutoring is done primarily in person. Here in Drain Hall is our main location, 164. That's where the Learning Center is actually stationed. But we also have some additional, we'll call them satellite sites across campus that we've been working with campus partners to make it a little bit more accessible to students. And so that includes the library and that includes certain dorms. And so this semester we will be working at Murray Hall, which will be new for us, and we will continue working out of the Chitwood Weymouth Coleman location, their learning center on campus as well. So this will provide students with more than one opportunity, more than one location on campus where they can get that tutoring assistance from those wonderful students that we have on staff. Tutors are academically successful undergraduates. They have to have at least a 3.5 GPA to apply and to interview with us, and they must be able to assist or help out in at least 4 courses. That gives us the opportunity to help out a larger breadth of students than just having them focus on one particular course. Online tutoring is available as well, 24/7, tutoring through our partnership with tutor.com, which we piloted in the spring of 2025, and we're looking forward to opening that up fully to campus undergraduate students for the fall semester. So again, if there's not an opportunity where your student can come in, they will have the opportunity to jump online with tutor.com and get 24/7 access to tutors. So we average about 65 tutors that cover about 115 different courses. We can't cover everything on campus, but we try to do a good job of focusing on a wide variety of STEM courses and additional courses that may not fit in STEM, but there's a large enough demand for it, or professors have reached out to us showing interest in those things. We're also a study space that students can come in and just hang out, form little study groups, or just kind of find a nice quiet place to get some studying. And we're even a snack spot location on campus where our friends over at Raider Red's Food Pantry provide snacks for us to house here, where students can, get some studying done, some tutoring, and get some snacks. This next slide I wanted to show you is what our course listing looks like. This is just a part of it, but this is how a student would kind of navigate to see if they're in a course that we happen to have tutors for. And so you can see here we've got some accounting, we have some biology, we have some chemistry, and then a number of tutors that are able to help in those courses. Some courses based on demand and enrollment have more tutors available. You can see there that Chemistry 1307 and 1308 have traditionally been difficult courses on campus. And so we put a little bit more of our resources in that direction, knowing that we're going to have students in any given semester need additional help there. So as we get closer to the fall semester, you can go to our website and you can see, or your students can see, all the different courses that we offer help in. The next slide is an example of our tutor schedule. And so this is how they know when a tutor will be on staff or will be working. So if, let's say, Alicia at the top there was helping in chemistry and a student needed help in chemistry on Mondays, they know that she'd be available from 4 to 8. All they would need to do is to drop in during that time and ask for Alicia, or they can just say, I'm here to get Chemistry 1308 help, and the student assistant at the front desk would give them all the different options of tutors and when they're available. And so you can also see the outsides, the satellite locations that we had there in the spring. That'll look a little bit different, but that's how the schedule and how the course listing are intended to be kind of viewed, so a student knows when they can come by and access those wonderful tutors that we have on staff. And then just kind of a reminder of where we'll physically be. Drain Hall, again, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. Saturdays and Sundays will be open. We'll have a schedule posted there. If we do have a home football game on a Saturday, we will be closed to allow students to have the opportunity to enjoy that atmosphere. Also, parking is a nightmare on campus on game days, and so it's easier to be closed. But other than that, we'll be open on the weekends. The Chitwood Weymouth Coleman Learning Center is as well as Murray Hall will be there Wednesdays and Thursdays from 5 to 10 p.m. And then at the library Monday and Wednesday. And again, offering different locations to give students an opportunity so they don't have to come all the way to Drain Hall to get some help on campus. The next way, or the next method that we help students, is through supplemental instruction. And what supplemental instruction is are peer-led review sessions led by our SI leaders that we have. And what they do is a student goes to a session, typically offered twice a week for 1.5 hours per session. And so if you're in a class that offers that, you go to an SI session, you log in with a QR code. It gives you access to a handout that was prepared by the SI leader. And so it can give students opportunities to do extra practice problems. It gives them a chance to kind of sit there and review what was covered in class that week. And so it's a good opportunity to get your student out of their dorm room and surrounded by other students who are of similar mind, thinking that, they need to practice a little bit outside of the classroom. And so SI sessions can be anywhere from 5 people to 250 people. And so it's a different way. Some students like to sit back and just kind of listen versus the peer tutoring where they may come in and have specific questions, and it's just they have 2 questions and they're done and that's it. Our locations for SI sessions are all across campus. That will be shown we'll go into the next slide in a little bit that has the schedule, but we're at the mercy of the university regarding space and times. And so again, because these sessions can be larger, than normal, up to 100, 200 students, we need some space that we don't have here in Drain. We focus on historically difficult courses, high enrollment, high DFW courses, basically where we think we can make an impact or our SI leaders can make an impact on these students for traditionally difficult classes that Tech has offered over the years. Rater reviews are especially important because they're great ways for students to get ready for an exam. And so you'll notice when the schedule is posted for the fall, some sessions will be designated as rater reviews. Those are important that if a student goes to them, again, gives you an opportunity of what was covered up to that point and what they really need to focus on for the exam. Our SI leaders are wonderful students who've received A's in that course that they're going to be an SI for. They also have taken that course and they audit that class again just to make sure they're up to date with all the relevant information. And they work directly with the faculty on a regular basis to make sure that they're covering or they're reinforcing what the faculty believes is the most important information from the lectures, and just to give students the best opportunity to be successful in that class. And we have, based on the results that we've seen over the years, is students who typically attend SI sessions receive from a half to a full letter grade better than those students that don't attend those sessions. So again, opportunity for students to get some of that outside the classroom study time and positively affect their grades. Here's an example of the SI schedule, a partial SI schedule. But you can see here, there's several courses that have different offerings. Accounting 2300 at this time had 4 different SI leaders, offered different dates. So a student could essentially go to a session on Monday and Wednesday and Tuesday and Thursday, or just mix it up. And the locations for those are typically in the Rawls College of Business, but you can see those things change across campus. We try to keep them closer to the building of the course, but again, we're kind of at the mercy of the university. You can see there for accounting at this particular time, they had rater review sessions building up for an exam. And so that's one thing to kind of highlight for your student, that if they go to any, make sure they try to go to those. We'd love them to be at all of them, but those really kind of reinforce what's helpful for the exam. Some of the ways that you can talk to your students about our resource, or at least refer your students. If you hear your students say, I went to class, but I'm still confused, this would be a great place for you to step in and go, hey, have you tried the Learning Center? Have you used peer tutoring? Have you used an SI session? Sometimes students have the best intention to go to office hours, but maybe those office hours conflict with another class. And so there's not an opportunity to have that face-to-face communication with their professor. Come to an SI session, come meet with a tutor and get those questions answered that way. I don't like studying on my own because I get distracted easily. These are resources that get your student out of their dorm room or wherever they are and puts them, again, surrounds them with other students who are trying to be academically successful. And if that makes the difference from a C to an A by just being somewhere on campus with other students, send them our way. And this slide just kind of gives you some more points to jump off of what our resource does and how not to use it. So if a student says, I haven't been to class in a week and the tutors can catch me up, that's not what our resource is built to do. We're there to be a supplemental class. So ideally, your students going to all the classes. This is this extra stuff that they do outside of classroom. I have a solid B. I don't need any help. Again, your student may be confident, but maybe we can get them to an A. And all it takes is coming to a few SI sessions or coming to meet with a tutor once a week. And that B can easily go turned into an A. Or I don't feel comfortable asking for help. This is why we weigh heavily on peer assistance. So students feel like they're just asking a roommate or an older brother or a sister for help rather than, the daunting task of asking their professor or somebody else, or an old person on campus like myself. So if you go through and you start noticing your students have these communications with you in text or anything else, and you hear them say that, we appreciate you plugging our resource and reminding them that there is something here on campus that that can help them and is available to them. So we appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Pat. I'm here to talk to all of y'all today about the Undergraduate Writing Center services. The Undergraduate Writing Center, we are here to help your students become the best written communicators they can be. Our main service is our writing consultations. You can see an example of how those work in person in the picture here to the right. We can help students with any writing project, no matter what class it's for, or even if it's not for a class. For example, they need to write a tough email to their professor explaining why they missed a few classes. They want to talk about that with someone, or they're applying for a scholarship or applying for grad school, med school, whatever it might be. If they're writing something and they want to sit down and talk with a writing consultant who can really help them craft that in the best way that it's really going to communicate their message most effectively, that's what we are here to do. And we can help at any stage of the writing process. Sometimes your students might think they need a completed draft to come in to see us, but we can help them if they're still brainstorming. We can help them if they have questions understanding a writing assignment, right? They got an assignment in class and they're like, I don't even understand how to begin this. They can come in, talk to our tutors, talk to our consultants rather, and we can work with them to help them understand the writing assignment. Also, if they do have a completed draft and they just want a second pair of eyes to help them work through that and see how they could revise it and make it even better, we are happy to work with them at any stage of those writing process. And we also work closely with the personal librarians from the library. And so if your student is working on a research paper and they really want a librarian there to help them find the resources in the library that are going to be the best for them to, write that paper, they can request that a librarian join the consultation, and they'll have a writing consultant and a librarian there to help them. So those are our meat and potatoes, so to speak, services. We also have writing groups, which are small groups of writers that meet together at the same time each week and kind of just support each other through longer writing projects. One thing we have going now is like students working on honors thesis, which is a very long writing project. They're meeting together to like support each other in that. And additionally, we have our online resources. So we have a lot of videos and handouts on our website where students can learn about some common writing issues. So those are our main services. On the next slide, we'll start talking about the different types of consultations that we offer. So we want to make sure that students can meet with us and get the help they need, no matter their schedule, no matter where they are in Texas or throughout the world. So we have three types of consultations. First is our in-person consultations. These are where students come into the center or some of the other places that we have on campus where there are consultants there. Oh, sorry. Can we go back for a second? My bad. And they can sit down and talk with the consultants, and the consultants can read through their paper with them, answer any of their questions. If your student cannot come into the center and still wants to have a real-time conversation, we have our synchronous online consultations, which are like a video call, or video conferencing call rather. They'll be able to see the video of the consultant. They'll have a whiteboard in the middle there where they can work with the consultant on their paper. They'll have a chat function. So a lot of ways to really communicate in real time there. And then we also have our asynchronous online consultations. These are if your student cannot come into the center or cannot schedule a time where they can be there, or they would just rather work in this manner, they can just submit a draft and submit a list of the questions or concerns they have with their paper. And during the consultation, the consultant will read the draft and provide written feedback in the margins like you see here. And we also provide a screencast video where we basically read through the document and give kind of some general impressions and suggestions for future steps that the writer can work on as they're going through the revision process. So these are our 3 types of consultations. Now, on the next slide, we'll talk more about some of those locations and hours. So our main center is in Weeks Hall on the 3rd floor, and students can come in there Monday to Friday. We have our hours Monday to Thursday, 10 to 7, Friday, 10 to 4. Students can also work with us on Saturday, but those are asynchronous appointments only. So those are those ones where they turn in their paper and they get the written and screencast feedback. We do also, similar to the Learning Center, have university library hours. So in the library room 132, we have our Sunday and Tuesday from 2 to 7 p.m. where students can come in and meet with us. We also have our satellite locations in Murray Hall and Chitwood Weymouth, again, similar to where the Learning Center was. And for our architecture students specifically, we have a satellite location in the architecture library. So if your student happens to be an architecture student, they can take advantage of that. So on our next slide, this is how your student can make an appointment. So we hope you'll encourage your student to make an appointment with us. It's really easy if they go online at uwc.ttu.edu. They can access our online scheduler, which you can see an example in this picture here. They'll be able to see all the consultants that are working on that day and all the time slots that those consultants are available. They can just click on those time slots and schedule an appointment. If they don't feel comfortable making the appointment themselves, or they need help or have any questions, they could always call our office, 806-742-2476 extension 2. And our student assistants are more than happy to help them schedule an appointment or answer any questions. And of course, they can always drop into Weeks Hall at the 3rd floor and ask any questions, and the student assistants will be happy to help them there as well. One thing we do want to stress, though, is students must schedule and attend their own appointments. No one else can schedule an appointment for them. All right, and then on our next slide, here are some things that you can talk to your student about. The UWC, when you start hearing them saying things, like, I have an essay coming up, or I've never written this kind of paper, or I've never used APA style before. If you hear them saying things like that, definitely suggest to them to come to the Undergraduate Writing Center. We work with students on these kind of issues all the time. All different genres of writing, all different types of writing, different styles, we can help them with that. Also, if they're writing a new kind of document, like, oh, I need to email my professor and I'm very worried, or I have an application, I don't know how to start it, or this is a new assignment, I've never worked on that kind of thing before. Definitely suggest them to come in. We will read through all the guidance the professor provides, all the guidance on the application website, help them really craft a really effective communication. Also, if you hear them saying things, like, I got comments from an instructor, but I don't know what to do next, or I didn't do well on this assignment, or I did okay, but I'd like to do even better, or will you help me? You can, of course, send them to the UWC, and we can help them with all of those issues as well. And then on the next slide, here are some things that, if you notice your students saying some of these common misconceptions about the UWC, you can help them understand how to use the UWC really effectively and really what we do. So if they're saying, I'm going to the UWC so they can fix my paper, of course, we are not going to write students' papers for them. Students are here to learn. So we are really here to help them learn how to be effective written communicators. So we're going to sit down with them and show them what they're already doing really well, and then show them what they could really improve and give them strategies to do that, right? So we're not going to fix their paper for them. We're going to help them learn how to fix their paper for themselves. Or if they're saying, ChatGPT can write my paper for me. Well, your professor probably has some policies related to ChatGPT that the students really need to understand. If they have questions about that, we can also help them look at the course syllabus. But also ChatGPT writing your paper is not helping you, the student, develop the skills you need in your professional life to really communicate effectively and to use effective written communication. Or if they're saying things like, I'm a good writer, so I don't need the UWC. Well, we believe all writers can benefit from a really careful and invested reader. So that's what we do. No matter whether they're feeling they're a great writer or if they said, I've never been a good writer and I just don't think I can improve, we can really help them understand that writing is a skill that they develop. The same way when you first start learning a sport like basketball, you need a coach there. The first time you touch a basketball, you're not going to be a great basketball player, but with practice and the instruction from, a coach who knows how to reach out to you and really explain how to improve, you're going to get better. In the same way, that's what the UWC consultants are. We think of ourselves like coaches. So we're going to help the students understand the steps they need to take in order to become better. So if you hear the students talking about the UWC in any of these ways, we just hope that you'll help explain to them how we can help them and really encourage them to come in. No matter what questions they have, we will explain to them how to use the service to really get the most out of it they can. So the only step they need to take is really to schedule those appointments and come in to visit with us.
All right. Well, thank you so much, both Pat and Dustin. At this time, it looks like we don't have any questions in the Q&A, but if you have any, please feel free to submit those. We did receive some questions before today, so I'm going to kind of ask these and maybe we can get some answers to a few questions that already came up prior to this. I think that this was a really good time to kind of lean in to this question because Dustin was just talking about, ChatGPT. And so we got a question, how is Texas Tech University teaching and leveraging the use of AI in course studies? And not just like AI chat, but agents and other AI use. Because, now looking forward, there's also corporations that are mandating the use of AI in the workforce. So how is Texas Tech addressing that for students?
I can answer some of that. Texas Tech has always had a policy of allowing the faculty to kind of make the decision on how much their courses could be impacted by AI or how they can use AI to better their course or what they limit their students doing. I think ultimately what they want is students to be able to learn using that process, not necessarily saying you can't use it all the time, but finding positive ways to use it. And so I believe currently it's at the level of the department or the particular instructor, which is why it's key for your student to make sure they read the syllabus of each class to make sure what is, I guess, off limits and on limits for the use of that. I know Texas Tech also has a professor recently that was given a grant on how to use AI in the classroom and to kind of teach it a little bit differently than a traditional class. And so embracing that and seeing how we can work with it. And so I think ultimately there's not one thing across the board, but all departments and faculty have the ability to kind of make that decision for their particular class. And the easiest way for them or for your students to know about how that will be treated in their class is to look at the syllabus.
Thanks, Pat. One thing that we did get a lot of questions about is things like how can using these resources help for students who maybe really have a difficult time focusing on assignments. And I know, Pat, you mentioned, getting out of your residence hall and getting with a group of other students who are also studying. But are there other tools that the tutors might have that they can help students kind of put into practice in their own private studies as well?
Yes, that's a great question because sometimes it's not the content that trips up students. It's how they prepare, how they plan, how they study. For students who this will be their first semester at Texas Tech or any college, there is a transition coming from high school. The expectations are different, the way that you plan to study, how much time you allocate to studying, and mixing that in with all the freedom that students sometimes think they have. My general rule of thumb is you go to class. That's the basis. If you go to every single class for every single subject, you're guaranteeing yourself a C. It's the effort that you're going to do outside of the classroom, whether it's redoing your notes, going to an SI session, meeting with a tutor, creating your own study group. That extra effort outside of the classroom is what's going to get you a B or an A. And so we're offering students a chance to come in and meet with our tutors who've been there. They can bounce ideas off them and said, hey, I started in that class and it was difficult. Here's how I studied, or here's how much time I allocated every week outside of class to put myself in the best position to be successful. They're trained on different techniques, different learning styles. And so if a student happens to be a visual learner and they're in a class that doesn't lean into visuals, for that professor or that lecture, then students can have to learn or need to learn different ways to kind of work around that. And they can get that information from our tutors. So it's not solely, hey, come in and ask me, what the formula for this is how else did you kind of prepare to do well in these classes? How much time did you, and just support, sometimes just making a connection with another student helps in that process of getting them outside and minimizing those distractions, and adding a little bit of accountability in there.
Awesome. Thank you, Pat. One other, and I know that this is going to be specific to Pat again. I saw the question pop up a couple of times. When can families expect the fall tutoring and SI schedules to come out and be published?
It will definitely be sometime that first week of classes. So classes begin on Monday, the 25th. We have our student staff training on the 22nd. So right now we have a general idea of which tutors and which SI leaders we have in place, but we're still trying to put everything on the back end. We don't want to put out a product and then have to make a bunch of changes to it. So I would say that Monday, the 25th, through that Wednesday, sometime that first part of the week, because we'll pick up sessions and we'll pick up tutoring on Wednesday, the first week of classes. And so you'll have to wait a little bit longer, but if you have specific questions and say, hey, my student is going to take a chemistry class, do you know if you'll have people? Reach out to us and we can at least give you a general idea. We don't have the specifics up until that first week of class.
Awesome. I'm just checking to see if we've got any other open questions right now. As a reminder, these kind of updates, once those go live, we'll be sharing those in the Red Raider Family Network as well, so that as family members, you'll be able to see any updates to schedules or other, special workshops that the Writing Center might be doing, or other things like that throughout the year. So definitely keep an eye out for those things as well. As we are starting to wrap things up, I do want to ask all of our attendees to take a few moments just to take our short survey. Let us know how we did, and also, let us know if there are other things that you hope to see in the future. This is always really great information, so that we know how to best support you to support your Red Raiders success here at Texas Tech. Again, thank you to Pat and Dustin for being here today. As you can see, we've got their contact information. Their websites are available for you to visit. And we've put that information in the chat as well. So please visit their websites, learn a little bit more. And we want your Red Raiders to be super successful while they are here at Texas Tech. We hope you all had a wonderful day today, and we look forward to seeing you for some of our other Red Raider Family webinar series.